Spoiler alert, we've got the best and second best mid-size 3-row SUVs on sale today here with us. And now all we have to do is figure out which one is which. We're Edmunds, and we test hundreds of cars each year on the road and at our private track, so you get the most trusted reviews. If you want to know which car, truck, or SUV is the best, then stick with us. Say hello to the new Kia Telluride, the first properly new one since this thing first debuted in 2020. Now it's going to start just above $40,000, but both the gas and hybrid versions, they'll top out at just over $60,000. But of course, what you will end up paying depends on dealers in your area. And that's why at Edmunds, we've got tools that tell you what you should pay. You can find the links for each car in the description or just scan the QR code. Now, this Telluride Hybrid, it has its work cut out for it because that Palisade Hybrid, well, we like it a lot. Luckily for the Telluride Hybrid, it has a lot in common with the Hyundai. They've got the same wheelbase, the same powertrain, and many of the same features. But Kia didn't just hit copy and paste on this vehicle, so let's find where those differences are. Is that purple? That's fantastic. Lots of this interior is familiar. It's very similar to what we had in the Kia EV9, and that's a good thing. We owned one of those for a year, and that interior ruled. But this one, it's even better. Now, I like that when Kia said we're going to make a purple interior, that they didn't just change a few trim pieces and call it a day. They did a lot. The top of the dashboard here, all these accents down here, the roof liner on the seats, and even the seatbelt holders, they're all purple. Kudos to Kia for sticking to the bit. Now, they also offer a blue and orange interior on this vehicle, and that's a touch of style that you don't often see in many SUVs. One of the things that Telluride kept from the EV9 that I'm really glad is here are these mesh headrests, also purple, of course. Now they're 4-way adjustable, which means that in addition to going up and down, they also go in and out. And that just allows you to find an even better driving position, and it makes these front seats just a hair more comfortable to me than the ones in the Palisade. On the technology front, you're getting matching 12.3-inch screens up here on most of the Telluride's trim levels, one for the infotainment system and one for the gauge cluster. Now, this is a system that we're very familiar with and one that we like a lot because it's very intuitive and pretty easy to use, and all the connectivity features that you'd expect, like wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, are going to come standard. Now, I do wish that the gauge cluster could mirror the directions that you're getting from Google Maps if you're using one of those smartphone mirroring technologies. That's a feature that many other cars are offering these days. And there is a HUD, and it's pretty big and clear, but you're going to lose sight of it if you're wearing sunglasses. One thing that the Kia does, though, that the Hyundai doesn't, is it offers you more customization. So as you can see right now, we've got the National Geographic theme on with all these cute animals. But you can also do things like put your favorite NBA team or your favorite Disney movie on there, just to make it the way that you want. Oh, and the voice commands here, they're tied to an AI system. So you can ask important questions like, find me the best tacos nearby.
Please say the line number of the location you want to go to.
Important stuff. Want to charge your phone? Good news is you've got plenty of options. 3 USB-C ports up here, 1 data, 2 for charging. There are actually 7 spread all throughout this vehicle, and there's a pair of wireless charging pads up here for both phones for front passengers. But between those big front screens, there's something that we don't like, and that is this small screen right here for the climate controls. Now, it's actually blocked out by the steering wheel, and that makes it hard to see for the driver and hard to reach because you got to reach around it like this. And it's also a bit misleading because this part here, it doesn't actually change any of the controls. It just opens up a menu right here. These buttons here are the only ones that are functional, and then they put the rockers for the fan speed and the temperature down here. Splitting the controls like this is just confusing. Putting them all in one place is a much better experience, and fortunately, the rest of the controls in this vehicle are excellent. They're labeled clearly and easy to use, especially the ones on the steering wheel. Small item storage is pretty good. You've got that trademark Kia center storage bin here with the retractable cup holders. Although weirdly, we think that these are a little bit smaller because in other Kias, they fit our big water bottle, but here they don't. Now down here, there's another storage area that's better for bigger items, although I do wish that you had some sort of storage shelf here in front of the front passenger. This sort of empty dashboard space feels like a wasted opportunity. In the center storage bin, it's not very deep, but that's for a good reason. Because it allows for this storage bin for second row passengers. And it's even got a lid on it, so you can put stuff right there. The second row seats in the Telluride are excellent. They're comfortable enough to be front seats in most other SUVs. And Kia pays real attention to detail here in the second row. These armrests, for example, they have 14 different settings, so you can find the perfect one for you. Now, in top trim levels, these seats are also going to come with heating and ventilation. Again, a feature you're not going to find in most of the Telluride's competitors. I do wish that those mesh headrests made an appearance back here, but these faux suede ones, they're still pretty comfortable, and most importantly, they're still purple. The new Telluride has a longer wheelbase than the old car, and that means that there's more interior room than ever before. And while I appreciate the legroom as a passenger, I think parents might appreciate that extra space even more. This vehicle has pretty wide door openings and plenty of vertical room, and that makes it easy to load in a rear or forward-facing car seat. And the lower latch anchors and upper tethers, they're easy to access as well. I really like the layout and ergonomics of this second row. The air vents are in the ceiling where they belong. They can circulate air better up there, which is important for kids in car seats, and the USB ports are actually located in the seat backs of the front seats, which makes them easier to reach. This is just a well thought out and well executed space. Now, the new Telluride, it also passes the 3 Bryans test with ease. I'm just under 6 feet tall. I set the driver's seat where I like to drive, and the second row seat where I'm still comfortable. And as you can see, I've got plenty of legroom and pretty decent headroom back here in the third row. And I would have even more if I recline this seat back just a touch. You're also getting good features back here. This is a heated third row. The outboard seats have heating. You're also getting a pair of USB-C ports and a nice little storage bin on both sides. Now, I do wish that I had more room under this seat for my feet. The toe box is kind of tight and the floor is a little bit high, so my knees are a bit elevated. There are other SUVs with larger third rows, but if you have to transport 6 adults in a pinch, this is gonna do just fine. I also really appreciate that you get a nice big window here that makes visibility great, and it makes it feel less cramped. Overall, this is an absolutely fantastic interior, and just like in the old Telluride, it feels like you're getting a lot of features and quality for your money. The Telluride's cargo area is also pretty well featured. You're getting a household outlet back here. Lowering the third row is also easy. You just pull on this strap here and give it a little push, and it pops down just like so. There's also this carpet here in the back of the cargo area that I like because it protects the interior. The problem is with the third row seats up, it bunches up, and that's a bit unsightly. You can just rip it out if you really want to avoid that. Now on paper, this has slightly more cargo room than the Hyundai Palisade. However, we were unable to fit all 3 pieces of our luggage behind it and close the liftgate. We'll see how the Palisade does in that regard in just a bit. We're here at the Edmunds test track in the Telluride, but don't worry, we're definitely going to be focusing more on how this thing drives on the street, because the only people who would put a Telluride on the track are nuts. Our kind of nuts, but still nuts. Give this thing some throttle and the power comes on really quickly. Now, more important than 0 to 60 times for a vehicle like this is, does it feel responsive? And thanks to the added boost from those 2 electric motors, this thing certainly does, and that makes it really good to drive around day to day. Now remember, pretty much all the stuff that I'm saying about the Telluride Hybrid is going to apply to the Palisade as well, because under the hood, these things are pretty much identical. They even both have 2 systems that are distinct to the hybrid models. One is called e-handling and one is called e-ride, and they basically use the components from the hybrid system to make the SUVs better to drive. That's a big reason why the Telluride feels more agile than you would expect, especially for something so big and something that's so comfortable. Ride quality in this thing is outstanding. And that e-ride system, it also helps. It actually uses the second hybrid motor to subtly add and remove torque. And what that does is it prevents the vehicle from rocking back and forth as much. And that not only makes it smoother on the road, Kia also says it will help people to be less car sick. And that's something that we can all get behind. The other thing that I really like about the Telluride is that it's super quiet on the road. And it's so quiet that I actually asked Kia if there was any kind of active noise cancellation going on. And their reply, which was so coolly confident, was, "Our engineers considered it, but ultimately deemed it unnecessary." All the driver aids that you would expect are here, with the exception of a hands-free driving system, and they all work pretty well for the most part. You're also getting a surround view camera on some trims, which should help you while parking, but you also have really big windows all around, so natural visibility is excellent as well. And the Telluride Hybrid, it does come with a standard digital rear view mirror. No excuse to not see everything that's around you. The new Telluride is a really impressive vehicle. The old one, it was really good, so it was a tough act to follow, but I think this new one, it's better in pretty much every measurable way, especially with this new hybrid powertrain that solves the old one's biggest problem, and that was fuel economy. There is nothing that can get in this big Kia's way, or is there? And then of course there's the Hyundai Palisade Hybrid, our current favorite. Now the Palisade, it also starts at around $40,000, and this fully loaded calligraphy model, it's just over $60,000, just like the Telluride. In fact, only a few $100s separate the prices of these two vehicles, which means that we get to compare them like for like without cost as a consideration. And you might notice that in this Palisade, we're gonna get into the very fine details because that's what's going to separate these two vehicles given all the things that they share. There is not a square angle to be found on this interior. If the Telluride's interior feels like the future, this one definitely feels like a blast from the past. This dashboard looks like an elegant piece of bentwood mid-century furniture. All of these curves are just fantastic, and they repeat throughout the cabin. The thing that I love that Hyundai does is they make their interiors feel distinct. So what you're getting here in the Palisade, it's very different from what you're getting in the Santa Fe or the Tucson, while Kia, they reuse a lot of the same design language and parts. That makes the Hyundai products feel really distinct, and I like that a lot. Now, you can also get this interior in black, but I would advise against it. This gray and navy treatment is great. So is this kind of tan camel color that you can get. With black, a lot of these really cool details, they get a bit lost. These front seats, they're also great, even if they do have inferior headrests, but they're very comfortable even for long drives. But it has one thing that makes this whole cabin feel more upscale. In the Kia, all the materials are synthetic, but here in the calligraphy, real Napa leather here on the center console, here on the seats, and it just makes it feel more upscale. And we also like that you don't have to get specific trim and paint combinations to unlock your options for interior colors. You can actually customize this interior a bit more widely than you can in the Kia. Now, the technology in these two vehicles, it's going to feel really similar. The screens are the exact same size, and so is the head-up display. And as you can see, the menu structure also quite similar to what we had in the Kia. Now, this isn't going to offer you the same level of personalization, but it does have one extra feature that I would take over that any day, and that is an integrated dash cam. That's a feature that more and more consumers want because it protects you in the case of an accident. Charging features also great here in the Hyundai. 3 USB-C ports here, 4 more spread throughout the cabin, and only a single wireless charging pad, but it makes up for it with an extra bit of charging in the second row that we're going to cover later. Now, one thing to note, these USB ports, you're going to see a little sign here that says 100 watt max. The ones in the Kia, they top out at 27 watts, but with a 100 watt max, you can actually charge something like a MacBook Pro just from one of these USB ports. Now, that 100 watts is shared throughout the cabin, but unless everyone is charging a phone at the same time, you're going to be able to charge up larger devices like a computer, tablet, game console, no problem. The climate controls are much better here in the Hyundai. If they have to live in a screen, we like them in something like this, a persistent screen that doesn't control anything else and also doesn't take away space from the main infotainment screen. Now, the rest of the controls are very well laid out. Everything's labeled nicely, just like it is in the Kia, except for the camera button, which is all the way over here for some reason, and that's pretty far from the driver. That's kind of a stretch. We don't like that. For small item storage, you aren't getting that flexible bin that we had in the Kia, but in every other way, I find this Palisade to be superior. This lower storage area down here is uncovered, and that makes it a great place to put a purse or a small bag, so it doesn't have to live on the floor or on the seat. And in front of the passenger, we're also getting a storage shelf, and the cup holders here are larger, so you can see it fits our big water bottle with no problem. Now, this center console bin, it is deeper, and it also doubles as a UV disinfecting chamber. So if you want to get all those nasty germs off your phone, just drop it in, press a button, germ free. Well, at least you still get some good headrest action in this thing. The Palisade and Telluride share basically the same interior dimensions, so all of the comments that we made about the spaciousness of the Kia before, they apply here. So of course, this aces the 3 Bryans test. These second row seats, super comfortable, heated and ventilated, just like in the Kia, good enough to be front row seats in most other SUVs. But here at Edmunds, we test everything. So I decided to figure out if this armrest has as many adjustable settings as the Kia does, and it does not. It's only got 13 positions, way worse. Just like in the Kia, you're also going to get a pull-out storage bin here behind the center console, but this one doesn't have a lid. But the other feature that you're getting on the back of the center console is one that I really like, and that is a household outlet. Now, you are getting a household outlet in the Telluride, but it's going to be buried all the way in the back of the cargo area. Having it here makes it more accessible to passengers and easier to use. This is a much better placement for it. And there's one other feature here in the Hyundai that I like. There are actually seat adjustments for the front passenger seat right here on the side. So if you need to make some extra room, it's really easy to do so, and you can do it without having to get out and get around the car. Now, we've talked a lot about the differences, but there is one feature that both of these SUVs share that is worth highlighting because it's going to make them both safer for kids especially. On both doors, you're going to see an icon that looks like this, and that indicates an acoustic warning. So if a car or a bicyclist or a motorcycle is approaching you from behind on that side, when the car is off, it will actually sound a little noise so you don't open the door into someone riding or driving by you. Really helpful for kids who have a tendency to just open doors without looking. Now, on paper, the Palisade is going to have a little bit less third row legroom than the Telluride, but being back here, there still feels to me like roughly the same amount of space, and there are a couple of reasons that I prefer this third row over the one in the Kia. The first, power adjustments. You can actually slide this third row forward and back to make more room as needed, and you're also getting power recline, which is great because it's a lot easier to use than some strap you have to reach for. Air vents still in the ceiling, a storage bin here, a USB port there. Everything you'd need in the third row for a short or long journey. Oh, and the windows here, they're even bigger for even better visibility. As we mentioned before, the Telluride actually has a little bit more cargo room than the Palisade on paper, but this is why it's important for us to test these things out, because I actually prefer this cargo area for one important reason. This has a powered third row. You can actually slide the entire row forward, and that gives you some extra space back here if you need to fit luggage. So those 3 bags that wouldn't fit in the back of the Kia, you can actually fit them in the back of the Hyundai if you move this third row up just a little bit. Now, the Hyundai is also going to give you better underfloor storage than you're getting in the Kia. And even though your household outlet is not here, it's been repositioned to a better spot in the second row. Really good stuff all around. So here in the Palisade, same hybrid powertrain, same wheelbase, same all sorts of stuff between these two vehicles. So there's no real way around it. These two drive pretty much the same. 0 to 60 in 7.4 seconds here in the Hyundai. Both of these SUVs, they're gonna feel pretty great to drive, especially around town, given how responsive they are to throttle inputs. Now, if I had to pick a difference between these two, which I sort of have to do because here at Edmunds, we're a bit obsessive about this kind of stuff, the Palisade suspension, it just feels a hair tighter than what you're getting in the Telluride, and as a result, it feels just a bit more buttoned up when you're going around corners or if you're on a canyon road or something like that. And for that reason, I prefer the way the Hyundai drives, but again, it's a minute difference. If I had to quantify it, I would say it's maybe 3 to 5% better. Otherwise, both of these SUVs, they're pretty great to drive. They're stable under braking, they're quiet, they're comfortable, and they're both more athletic than they look, kind of like me. If you're looking for an SUV to take on a long road trip, both of these would be high up on the list. Now, these two have basically the same safety features executed in the same way, so no difference there. But I would say that the visibility is maybe a hair better here in the Palisade thanks to those larger third row windows. I did tell you that we would be splitting hairs, right? Now, I hope you've been able to effectively demonstrate to you why this vehicle took home 2 big awards from us just this year. Its cabin is fantastic, it's dripping with style, and as long as you get the hybrid, it's pretty good from behind the wheel too. Now it's time to go crunch the numbers because this one, it's gonna be close. Before we get into value and share our verdict, if you have any questions about these two vehicles or an idea of what cars we should compare next, let us know in the comments below. We do read them all. And if you've been enjoying our videos and find them helpful, the best way to help us make more of them is a like and subscribe. Now, when it comes to value, both of these vehicles are monsters. In addition to sharing a lot of the same parts and features, they both have the same great warranty as well. 5 years, 60,000 miles basic, and 10 years, 100,000 miles on the powertrain. The Telluride Hybrid, it does have a slightly higher base price, but you are getting a bit more equipment. You're getting a standard digital rear view mirror, you're getting standard dual wireless charging pads, and a personal favorite feature of mine, ventilated front seats. Now, we've already illustrated that both of these SUVs have features that the other one doesn't have, and with them being roughly the same cost, their value proposition is kind of exactly the same. But the good news is, whether you go Hyundai or Kia, we think you're gonna be very happy with the amount of stuff you're getting for what you pay. Now, there is one final component to value we have to talk about since these are both hybrids, and that would be fuel economy. Now, we would actually recommend the hybrid versions of both of these vehicles over their gas counterparts because they're simply better to drive. But on top of that, you're gonna get almost 50% better fuel economy by choosing these electrified versions. Now, between these two, the Telluride does enjoy a slight advantage, 34 mpg combined for front-wheel drive models and 31 mpg with all-wheel drive. The Palisade is just behind that, 31 mpg combined with front-wheel drive and 29 mpg with all-wheel drive. Now, let's pop up those overall rating scores, and it is a very close win for the Hyundai. But the fact of the matter is, these two SUVs, they are at the very top of our mid-size 3-row SUV rankings. They're the only ones with overall ratings over 8. These two are so close in our overall ratings that I think that you'd be pretty happy taking home either. So with this new generation of Telluride and Palisade, a lot of it is going to once again come down to styling. And for me personally, while I like the Telluride's exterior more, I think that the Palisade's show-stopping interior is the thing that I most enjoyed out of both of these vehicles. So that's probably the one that I would take home if I had to pick today. But honestly, these cars might both look silver, but they're gold to us. Thanks for watching.